Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm Mindy Mandell. And for this video, I thought it would be nice to take another look at Plotinus. So I'm going to use this translation here. As you can see, it's Elmer O'Brien is the translator. And the ennead that I'm going to be reviewing here is ennead 5.2, which in this translation is called Post-Primals. This is a very short one, but there's quite a bit going on here. So it starts off, the one is everything and it's not everything. It is not everything because it is the source of everything. It is transcendently everything because there everything is, or more exactly, is not yet, but is to be. Okay, so he starts off very cryptic, right? He talks about it being the source, and this is significant. It'll come up again. So let me highlight that real quick. Okay, but it's the source. It's everything and it's not everything. It's transcendent. Everything is there and yet it's not there because it's not yet, but it is to be. Okay, so very cryptic. Let's see where he goes with it. He goes on. Yet how can everything come from the one, which is simple and apparently has within it no multiplicity or duality whatsoever? Okay, completely simple. There's no multiplicity, there's no duality. He says everything can come from it precisely because there is no thing in it. See, there's nothing in it, no thing. There's nothing in it. In order that being be, the one must be not being, but being's begetter. So what he's looking at here, what he's talking about is what is prior to being. He called it the source in that first part. It is the condition that allows being to unfold. If it already existed, if the one had being, then it couldn't be the cause of being. It couldn't be the source from which being unfolds. But it is being's begetter. And this line, by the way, is often quoted. This is one of Plotinus's probably more famous lines. In order that being be, the one must be not being, but being's begetter. It is the condition or the source from which being unfolds. This, then, it may be said, is the primal begetting. It is perfect, seeking nothing, having nothing, needing nothing. The one overflows, and its excess begets another than itself. Notice that it's not the one that begets the other, it's the overflow, the excess. The one itself is so far transcendent that it is, we call it more of the condition, it's the principle. Sometimes it's called the cause, but if we want to be more technical, it's that excess, that overflow that functions as the cause. The one itself, there's some, or you might say some aspect of the one, if I'm speaking loosely, that is so transcendent, we can't even call it a cause. But it is the principle, the source from which this overflow occurs. And so the one overflows, and its excess begets another than itself. Now the begotten then turns back towards the begetter, and it's filled, and it becomes its contemplator. So we call it the intelligence. Now its abiding with the one constitutes it being. Its contemplating the one constitutes it being intelligence. So it has two names. Because it abides with the one in order to see, it becomes at one and the same time intelligence and being. So here's a little diagram that maybe helps this paragraph along. So you have the one and it overflows like a fountain. Now that excess is the begetter that creates, but the begotten then looks back to its begetter and it knows it. So the begotten turns to see the begetter and it's filled and it becomes its contemplator. And therefore it's called intelligence. But this excess is not separate from the one. It abides with the one. And therefore it's called being. And this is a kind of a unity in that it's both intelligence and being simultaneously. So the one overflows and its excess begets another than itself. Begotten turns back towards begetter and is filled and becomes its contemplator, the intelligence. Its abiding with the one constitutes it being. Its contemplating the one constitutes its being intelligence. Because it abides with the one in order to see, it becomes at one and the same time intelligence and being. Now, an image of the one, the intelligence produces, as does the one, with, like its prior, a mighty show of strength. So we're going to continue the overflow, the unfolding of reality from the one to the intelligence in being to the next layer. And this next hypostasis is the soul. So this activity is the soul welling up from being. The intelligence, the while remaining unchanged, quite as its prior, the one, remained unchanged. But the soul does not remain unchanged in begetting its image, but it is altered. Contemplating its source, it is filled and it goes out. Now, this is a motion different in kind and in direction. And the soul, for its part, begets its own image, sense, and the vegetal principle of nature. However, nothing is separated from what is prior. The soul's going out seems to extend even to the vegetal level. In one sense, it does extend that far, for the life of growing things is its province, but it does not go out wholly onto the level of vegetation. It is there solely in the sense that, in going so low by this abasement and desire for what is base, it is the producer of an existent other. Its higher part, its own intelligence, akin to the intelligence itself, continues in untroubled self-possession. Right? So there's an image here of the soul abiding in itself and yet also emanating out into the world of time and space. You have a hierarchy here of the one, being and intelligence, and then soul, and then nature. Such then is the procession from the first principle to the last, with each principle in its own place, the begotten position below the begetter, and each, as guided, is one with its guide. So again, there's the flow, each in its own proper place, and there's a connection. You can link all of these together. When the soul enters a vegetal form, only a part, the most rebellious and the least intellectual, or the part that has flowed the furthest from the realm of intellect, only that part is there, since it has gone so far out of itself. When it enters an animal, it is sensation that has taken charge and conducted it there. When it enters a human, its outgoing has been due entirely either to its reasoning part or to intelligence, insofar as the soul has an intelligence of its own, and therefore the desire to know or be moved more generally. Now, when one clips shoots or branch ends, where does the soul go that was in them? It returns to where it came from. There is no spatial separation. So in that hierarchy, we separate them for our own linear thinking patterns for it to make sense to us in our own discursive reasoning. But in actuality, there is no spatial separation of these realms. Soul abides in its source. But if you cut a root to pieces or burn it, where then is the soul that was in the root? It is in the soul. The soul, we might call the individual soul, never left the soul for someplace else. In the same place, it must have been someplace else, since, as we said, it returns. So you see, you've got this thinking of like you're going back and forth. Well, this makes sense. On the one hand, it never left, but on the other hand, we say it returned, so it did leave. And we go back and forth with this confusion. He goes on to say, and if it does not return, it must be in another plant. Well, our meaning here is merely that the soul is not compressed into some one place. If the soul returns, it returns within the power of its prior. And where is this power? It's within the power of its prior. And this last within the intelligence. Now, of course, none of this is to be understood spatially. So again, reminding us it's not spatial, particularly in regard to the intelligence, but in regard to the soul as well. The soul, then, is nowhere. It is a where that is nowhere and everywhere. Still, if it tarry midway in its ascent, it leads a middling existence centered upon the mediocre in itself. Thus are all these things the one, and yet not the one. Okay, so going back to this, the one has overflowed, and yet in a sense it is still all the one. Yet as the overflow, it's not the one. So it's both. Thus are all these things the one, and yet not the one. They are the one because they are from the one. They are not the one because the one abides within itself in giving them existence. All things accordingly are like a life that extends in a straight line. Each successive part differs, but the line is of a piece with itself. It has points without end that are different, but previous point is not effaced by subsequent point. That portion of the soul that arrives in plants, does it in its turn engender nothing? Well, it engenders the plant in which it resides. But to examine this question, it is necessary to start from another principle. And so it's to be continued. But you can add then the realm of materiality, the physical plant, to the list there. So it is a short but very sweet ennead. Very nice one, very succinct in putting this whole metaphysics, the unfolding of reality, it's the connection of one realm to the next, seeing each as the activity, if you will, of the previous one, that the one unfolds into manifestation, and we call that being or intellect. The soul unfolds and is the activity. This activity is the soul. It's like you might call it the activity of the intellect. Nature unfolds from the soul, and it's the activity in the physical world of the soul. And then you have the realm of materiality unfolding from there. Okay, so if you have any questions about this one, please let me know. Put that in the comments section below, or you can drop me an email. There is a link in the description box, allaboutplatonism@gmail.com. But there's a link there. You can just click the link. Also, if there's any insights you have about this, or you want to share, what does this ennead do for you? What impact does it have on you? It's a very powerful one, right? It gives you a lot to think about, but also there's something that just rings very true about this, and it's very beautiful. So let me know in the comments what impact this ennead has on you, what thoughts it engenders in you. And as always, I thank you for watching. Till next time.